In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you guys can get yourselves back in shape. You may be wanting to do this for the summer, maybe it's for the start of the new year, whatever reason, we want you to be able to do it in a way that doesn't leave you in trouble with regards to your lower back, as so many do. So with today's video, we're going to go through 5 things that are going to help you do this successfully. We hear stories of many people falling into trouble. They start a couch to 5K, they go to that new workout class at the gym, whatever it may be, but they end up getting themselves caught out. And for those of you that are maybe just doing your normal gym workouts and you get to that point and every single time your back gives out and then you're in trouble again. And it can be very, very demoralizing for those of you that are actually trying to get yourself healthy, to get yourself in shape, especially with everything that's been going on the last few years. You know that's the right thing, but you keep on hitting this roadblock for whatever reason and your back gives out and you get in trouble and it feels like you're going back to square one. These 5 things are going to help you do this much more effectively without falling foul and getting yourself in trouble. The very first one is high impact exercises. These are the burpees, these are the high knees, squat jumps, squat thrusts, whatever they are bounding and leaping exercises. Yes, they have high calorie expenditure, but if you're someone that has been on the couch for the last couple of months and you're trying to get in shape, you don't need those sorts of strategies to get results. It's way too soon. We want to slowly build the intensity over a period of time. Start with the simplistic things. Don't start immediately with the leaping and bounding, which requires competencies in the joints, in the ligaments, in the tendons, in your balance, and in the muscles to be able to do these effectively without injuring yourself. It is the worst thing to start off with. So if you're getting back into the gym or getting back into working out and you're going to classes or activities that involve these leaping and bounding activities, take a big step back and remove yourself from those, because it is a recipe for disaster in many, many cases. And it's just not worth the risk because the results aren't there compared to non-impact based approaches. The reality is, if we take a squat, for someone who hasn't done squats, do we really need to go all the way down and jump up and jump up and jump up? No, you're going to get just the same burn for a newbie or a new person getting back into exercise, even if you've done it in the past. It doesn't matter for this. If you haven't done it in a while, you're going to get just the same burn doing a regular squats for the same degree of reps as you would if you did jumping squats with 0 of the risk. The second thing we're going to go through is that focus. What sort of exercise are we focusing on? And quite often people will say, I want to start getting fit, I want to start getting my body back in shape. Well, one of the big things with getting back in shape is getting muscle tissue, stimulating the development of extra muscle tissue, because that is so important for our longevity, for our health, for our resilience, etc., and for our back health as well. Going and doing cardio, solely cardio, say I'm going to start walking, I'm going to start running, I'm going to do the couch to 5K, those sorts of things, they are not getting you back in shape in a complete manner. We want to do strengthening as a staple here. We could do strengthening with cardio, but doing cardio alone with no strengthening, it just doesn't get the results that you need in terms of well-rounded health and well-being. Now, we're not against cardio, we're not against running, we're not against any of those things, but doing them with strengthening is really, really important. And there'll be a video up here that you can link to, which is a video we did on running and how you can get into running in the best possible way. One of the ways that we find really, really effective and very helpful for managing the intensity and getting that feedback from each of the sessions, so you know what the right intensity is for you, and knowing when it's become a little bit too much and maybe giving you a little bit of a reaction, maybe in the back, maybe elsewhere, maybe in the knees. You can really grade your running a little bit more effective. So strengthening work is essential. Cardio components are really, really helpful too from a cardiovascular point of view, but you have to do both. You can get a cardio workout from strengthening, but you can't get strengthening workout from your cardio. One final point with that particular part about the cardio is going to be that when you're doing strengthening work, you can start taking these joints through a full range of motion, the knees, the hips I'm thinking of in particular. Many of you will want to keep your knees and hips as healthy as possible to avoid things like arthritis, those particular load-bearing joints. When we're running and when we're walking, we're not really taking those joints through a full range of motion, the same way in which we will do when we're doing things like resistance-based work, squats, for example, or hip hinges, deadlifts, those sorts of exercises, lunges. Those strengthening-based exercises are going to do that real work for the joint health, not only the other stuff that we've mentioned as well. Now moving into number 3, and we've already kind of alluded to it, this type of exercises, strengthening based exercises that you're going to want to be doing. You'll want to do ones that are transferable to real life, and that's going to be the compounds, the large multi-joint movements. It's things like squats, it's things like hip hinges, it's as we get better, it's things like lunges as well, which are a little bit more complex but involve a degree of balance, a degree of core engagement, stability at the level of the core, many joints moving at the same time, and are reminiscent of the things that we're going to have to do on a daily basis. We don't want to be going and sitting in the gym on the preacher machine doing bicep curls, because that's just not going to get the results that we really want. So when you're doing these exercises, you'll get your maximum bang for your buck. You will also get some cardiovascular stimulation if we are doing those large compound movements. Try it right now. Maybe even you pause the video and you do 20, 30 squats. You will feel that ticker working. It is going to work and get you going. And if we're doing it at the right intensity as well, we're going to get that stimulation of the core, the back, the leg muscles, the hip muscles, all of that sort of stuff is going to be worked. It's a very, very efficient way. And as we mentioned in number 1, we don't need to be jumping up and down while we're doing it. So we've covered what type of exercises, strengthening wise, we're going to do. We're going to do compounds. Now we want to understand that before we start increasing the strength and the resistance here, we want to make sure we dial in our technique. We make sure, for example, on a squat, that our knees aren't rolling in. We make sure that we are not rounding our lower back as we go down through that squatting motion. We want to make sure we're not going up on our toes because our ankles aren't doing the right sort of stuff. We want to make sure we've got our core engaged and we're not bending over like so or tilting off to one side or the other. Those are all really, really important things. Evaluating your technique first is very, very important. Now, we mentioned at the start of this video about people, you're working out on your own and all of a sudden you constantly hit that threshold and your back goes. Well, getting the technique right before we start to change our resistances is so, so very important. And that is why in the premium Back in Shape members group, we have an encouraged environment whereby members can post their videos of the exercises they're doing so they can get that external feedback to know that they're doing their squats right, know that they're doing their lunges right, know that they're doing their deadlifts or hip hinges right, so they can then progress on with that degree of certainty and know when to move on with the resistance. And you can learn more about joining the program using the link up here or in the description. We've got a whole host in the latter parts of the program of back-friendly exercises that are going to help you, but also understanding how to specifically do those exercises with that expert support to make sure you're doing them right. Now back to the video. So just to recap so far, we've got avoiding high impact exercises because that is vital. They are unnecessary, especially if you're starting trying to get yourself back fit and healthy. We've got making sure we've got strengthening based exercises because cardio alone is not going to cut it, and it's a mistake so many fall into. Then we've got the types of exercises we're doing, these compound type exercises, large multi-joint movements to start off with. Sure, later on things can come, but when you're starting out, you want to be doing the basics right and the basics well. It gets you the most results, it's most efficient time-wise, and that way you're going to get what you need in terms of getting yourself back in shape. We discussed getting the technique right, which is really, really important before we make those steps up in resistance. And many people will look at exercises like a deadlift, for example. It has all sorts of different connotations. People get nervous about, oh, I can't do that. I'm never going to be able to do a deadlift or something like that. But if you learn to do them correctly, they are hugely applicable to the activities of daily living. You're going to have to pick that thing up off the floor. That is a deadlift. You can say, I'm never going to do a deadlift, but you will do it, and you better learn to do it correctly. Otherwise, you'll get caught out picking up a sock, and it's just not going to be very enjoyable at all. And this brings us to the last point. And that is do something after your workout that is helping aid the recovery process. We talk about lower body stretching, especially if we're working some of these lower body muscles, the hip muscles, the glutes, the leg muscles, the hamstrings and the quads, the adductors as well, and some of the lower leg muscles like the calves. If you're working those well at the right intensities, and maybe you're doing a bit of running as well or a bit of cardio on top of that strengthening work, they are going to tighten up, and you need to make sure that you are factoring in some lower body stretching into your routines. That is vital. And one final little trick that we talk about is going to be that towel decompression. Some of these exercises are going to involve a degree of compression through your spine, and we want that because we want to stimulate adaptive change in and around those joints of the spine so they get stronger and more healthy. But we want to be able to unload that spine after we've finished our workout to give that respite. And using the towel at the end of your workout can be a fantastic tool to just really help enhance the overall picture of your workouts. So if you haven't already seen it yet, there'll be a link up here to the video on the homepage of the YouTube channel. That is our phase 1 routine. That's more so for people that have injured their back. But the lower body stretching that I've just mentioned in number 5 is going to be really, really helpful, and the towel exercise. In that particular video, from about 16 minutes on, we go through the whole routine with you so you can follow along with that, at least get a flavor of what you should be doing with regards to that stretching and what the towel actually means, because some people are thinking, what on earth am I doing with this towel? So click the link up there and you'll be able to watch along with that video and follow us along in real time. Should be really, really helpful. Remember, 16 minutes in is where you want to start. Just before you go and click that link, we've got one final bonus tip for you, and this is just something to think about. A lot of people, as they move into and start exercises, just like the ones we've mentioned in this video, they forget about what is fueling their body. Now, you don't have to go into any sort of crazy diets or that sort of stuff, but remember, you're trying to get this thing to change. You're trying to build a bit of muscle tissue. You're trying to lose fat. You're trying to get your body working properly again and regenerate in many of those ways. It's so important that we provide the fuel in necessary to get our body working and responding in kind to our hard work that we're putting in those workouts. So make sure you're getting your calories right. You're getting the right number of calories for what you need on a daily basis. Make sure you're getting your adequate amounts of protein. Otherwise, how on earth are we going to repair after our workout sessions? And also remember, you want to try your best to get rid of as much of the junk food that you're eating in your diet as possible. Diet can be a huge thing that we could do numerous series on, and there's tons of information out there to the point where it becomes overwhelming for a lot of people. But if you just make sure you hit the right amount of protein on a daily basis, you get your calories in, the right number of calories, and you're getting it from sources that are not junk food, you're not going to go too far wrong. So hopefully that's been helpful. And if you have any questions about any of the stuff in this video, remember, you can always post in the comments below. We read all of your comments and they help us better guide our content for you. Remember, you can like this video if you did find it helpful, and remember, you can always subscribe to make sure you stay up to date with all of our latest videos. See you in the next one.